Last two sessions we talked about basic Spring MVC architecture. Okay, Spring MVC, servlets importance in MVC, how servlets will drive the front end request to back end, and what type of servlet they implemented. Right. So when we have a web application to handle request which is coming from front ends, either any REST clients also, servlets will play a very important role between server and front end. Right, without servlets we can't imagine this web applications or REST based applications which we are using nowadays. So when there is a request from front end, we understand that first request will hit to dispatcher servlet. So dispatcher servlet will try to understand your request, what is this request and which controller need to execute it for the first this request. So once it get the request, it will check in your Spring configuration XML file, is there any class that is mapped to a particular controller or not. If it identifies it, it will forward the request. Then your controller will execute the request flow and finally it will give the response. As soon as it gives the response in the form of model and view, dispatcher servlet will take help of view resolver to identify the output page location and it will forward that page to end user. So once again, if you see the request flow, right, we submit request from front end first. The request will go to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will ask handler mapping as a second step. Handler mapping, what it will ask for this particular form, what is the controller. So handler mapping will suggest which controller need to execute it. So then it will execute that so and so controller, and controllers will take it forward to services to DAO, and finally controller will get response back. Once it's getting response back, whatever output you want to send from the controller, that you need to put in the form of model and view object. So that model and view we need to give here as a response to the dispatcher servlet. What it will do, model object it will keep it into request scope, and your view it will keep it into response.send redirect, and it will send it as an output to the front end. So in output we can able to get that JSP page, and we can able to get the data from request scope, and we can able to showcase it there. This is how end-to-end will flow happens. And who will create which objects here in this architecture? All objects except dispatcher servlet, right? All objects are created by IOC. Your IOC container will create handler mapping object, view resolver object, and all your controller service DAOs, connection pools, everything. In your application, when you see these objects, right, who will manage MVC objects? MVC dispatcher servlet object created and managed by Tomcat. Your dispatcher servlet object, only object that is created by Tomcat is dispatcher servlet. When this object is created, whenever you start Tomcat or at the time of first user request, this dispatcher servlet object will be created and managed by Tomcat only. Except to this object, all other objects, created and managed in IOC. All other objects created and managed in IOC only. So your IOC container is responsible for all other objects, right? Handler mappings, view resolvers, controllers, services, DAOs, all these objects are created using IOC only. Only dispatchers are created by Tomcat. So first, when you deploy your application and start application, how this flow executes means when you deploy your entire application, you implemented and deployed into Tomcat. When you start Tomcat first, when you start Tomcat first, when you start it, it will create dispatcher servlet object. First, when you deploy your application, dispatcher servlet object will be created by Tomcat. Immediately, dispatcher servlet will do what? It will load your XML file. It will load your XML file and it will create all the beans of your application. All the controllers, handler mappings, view resolvers, services, DAOs, connection pools, Hibernate templates, JDBC templates, whatever classes are meant for your application, all that classes objects will be created by dispatcher servlet with the help of IOC. With the help of IOC. And it will wait for the user request. First objects, everything will be created in server and they will wait for the user request. When a user request, then dispatcher select object is already ready, right? It is already created by Tomcat and it is readily available for you. As soon as you submit the request, dispatcher servlet to do get method or do post method or do service method. You know, servlets have do service method, do get, do post. So whichever method you use, HTTP method, do get method or do post method, I mean post or get, whatever HTTP method is, it will hit your dispatcher servlet. Then dispatcher servlet will ask request map handler mapping for to execute the controller. Handler mapping will give the response with your controller name or controller path or controller class. Then immediately it will hit that controller and it will get the response back to the dispatcher servlet in the form of model and view. Model it will keep it into request book and the response page it will redirect as a complete page. It will redirect with the help of view resolver. It will identify that location and extension of your page. So this is how end-to-end flow will happen. Simple. Now earlier we see one example using simple XML based mapping. Simple XML based mapping example we saw. Now let's see how we can achieve that with annotation. With the help of annotations, how we can handle it. In our blog, you can see one example is already available. So here if you go, there are multiple MVC examples that you can download and see. One is annotation example here you have. I don't know which one out of it, but yeah, let us do it. In previous use case, we have implemented it using simple XML based mapping. Yeah, here is our form. When we submit this form with the name, when we click on this button, it will generate this action with the post method. Then this action will hit Tomcat. Tomcat will identify the mapping here. Whether this mapping is matching with this mapping or not, it will check. So it is matching. Star.rbu means any request with the .rbu extension. I am allowing it here. So your request is allowed now. Then it will map to this dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will read this XML file. It will read this XML file and it will read all your beans. With the help of bname URL handler mapping, it will check is there any bean with the name which contains URL. Is there any bean with the name contains the URL which is coming from the front end. So that front end URL and this URL is matching. So then it will recognize, okay, hello controller class need to be executed. So your request will go to hello controller class. Same request and responses which is getting from Tomcat, it will forward as it is here. Request and responses. So once you get the request here, you can read it. Then you can do whatever operations you want to do, or else if you want to take it forward to service DAO, you can forward. Once you get the response, you need to keep response into model, whichever response you want to put, you can keep it into model. And you can return your output page with model combination using model and view object. You can put your output page name and your map object here. Finally, when you return it back, dispatcher servlet will get this name and map object. This map object, it will keep it into request scope like line number 19. And for this hello, it will take help of view resolver. It will ask this view resolver, I got a response hello. For that hello response, what is the location and what is the extension, it will ask. So view resolver will say prefix is the location, suffix is the extension. Just concatenate them. It will say just concatenate them. So what it will do, it will concatenate or it will append web.inf slash success pages slash hello dot JSP. Your hello, it will keep between this and this. So what it will do internally, it will combine both when you send it, right? When you send this hello name, what usually it will do with the help of your resolver, dispatcher servlet will do response dot send redirect of, it will keep that path and it will append your page name and it will append this extension .js. So finally this will become full path. So from this path it will take output page to front end. So this is how usual programmatic flow will happen. Same thing we can handle it in annotations also. Same thing we can handle it in annotations also. Let's see one example. Just a minute, it is loading. Hello, am I audible, guys? Mm, yeah, you can see the same stuff how we map. When we use annotations, these classes we need not to bring to XML file. Automatically component scan will scan these classes and it will create objects. So immediately when you see this controller, that you can understand this class need not to be configured in XML file. Okay. If my controller class is not configured in XML file, how a method executes? It can execute. It can execute with the help of request mapping. As I said in the architecture, right? If you don't have XML file based mapping, still you can map your controller methods with the request mapping annotation. Directly you can map your request, front end request here. So here we have example. Just a minute. Okay. Anyways, so we can map request to controller. Then controller can handle the request. Like if you send a simple name, we can read, or if you want to send a complete object, we can able to read. Anything we can able to handle it here. Let me create a brand new example. I just want this schema. That's it. Let me keep it somewhere. And, this was okay. Give me one more minute. It will load. Same example. Let's do it. Yeah. Create a dynamic web project. Okay. Registration form and this. So add all the libraries as you added before also here, right? Add all the jar files. Let me copy, paste, and web.xml file, same file. Open and see whether it is copied or not. It is copied. Same index.html file. Yeah. And success page. Yes. And one servlet.xml file. And the controller also. Copy paste. Now it is in XML approach. We are doing mappings here using XML. Now we should avoid it. We are avoiding it. Let's keep the schema here. And I'm giving my controller class path. Just I'm asking component scan to scan it. So it will scan this web package, and there is no stereotype annotation. So it will not create this class object. If you want to create this class object, what all you need to do is you need to put at the rate controller stereotype on it first. At the rate controller annotation, you may import. Yeah, and nothing to override. Create a method, and this method need to be executed for this front end form request when you submit the name for hello.rb, and which is post method. So use here annotation to map directly request to your method. Request mapping hello.rbu comma http method equal to post. That's it. Remaining stuff I want to keep it as it is. Internal code. Only mappings got changed. Only mappings got changed here. So earlier I used to have bean mapping and plus view resolver also here. Now no view resolver in that changes, right? So view resolver is not there. So if no view resolver, then it will not function. So you need to have view resolver here to say output page location and extension. Or else as you are using stereotypes, as this is a simple bean, right? You can create this bean using at the rate of bean also. At the rate bean also you can use. That we will try. Okay, that we will try. First to try the simple example. If it's functional, right, we will try it. Run on server. Tomcat. Go next. Just to registration form example. Finish. Tomcat is started. Registration form MVC is loaded. Right. Give me output. Exactly. Yeah. So it is executing and returning the same thing. So just as an alternate, we found annotations here for the mapping. Directly we would able to map. We are able to map our front end request to controller directly without any XML based mappings. I need not to visit any XML file now. I need not to configure my class. I no need to extend or implement any interface or any classes here. Just put at the rate controller on top of your class and put at the rate request mapping for your method. And what kind of or what type of methods I can use here? You have all the HTTP methods support. You can use post to put to get, delete. Importantly, this four views, right? Post to put to delete to get. You can put any method. Remaining also you can try. It will function. It will work. So now we will see one end-to-end application. Okay. Here itself we will add some Hibernate code and we will add few more parameters in our front end and we will see how it will work. Okay. We will do one student registration form. Student.rb post method I want to use, and I want to take inputs from you: name, email, address, for address kind of stuff, text area, 5 rows, so 15 columns. Name is address. Phone number, input type text, name, phone, qualification. Okay, anything if you want to add, you can add here. Okay, so I want these parameters enough. Now let's read all these and store it in database: name, email, address, phone number, and qualification. Name, email, address, phone, and qual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Read these 5 parameters. Let's rename it from hello controller to registration controller. That's it. You need not to modify anywhere else because we're just using annotation. So you can change it. Easy to maintain. Student.rb. Change this request. Now not only name, we are sending name plus email, address, phone, qualification. Email, email, address, address, phone, phone, qualification. Okay, once I got all these parameters, I want to save it into database. We know how to do from here. We'll do that. We will use Hibernate approach. We will use Hibernate approach to do that. Have we done any end-to-end example here? Spring with Hibernate. Yeah. Let's have all these classes there. One configuration, DAO, DTO, model, service, web. Earlier we used to have web, all these CRUD operations, right? Post to put all this through main method we tested. Now we will change it to original controller. Hmm. Let me copy it. Web is not required. This is anyway we are changing it, right? To actual controller. Keep the reminder. Copy. Okay. Earlier we used Lombok also. Let me include Lombok as well. So for Hibernate related stuff, till controller keep it aside. For Hibernate stuff, we need to start with model, right? So employee 007 is my table. There I want to save name, email, address, phone, and one more parameter. String qual. ID will be generated for you automatically. Okay. Now this model I want to use it in my DAO classes. So here I have employee DAO with Hibernate template. Employee DAO class which is auto-wired with the repository, and I'm auto-wiring here Hibernate template for doing save, update, delete operations. So using this Hibernate template, doing save, update, delete, all this stuff you know. Now check the configuration class Hibernate template is creating or not. Yeah. So session factory is getting created here, and that is passed to Hibernate template. So Hibernate template also created. So this is ready for auto-wire, where it will auto-wire in your DAO class. Now DAO class you can use it in service class. Where is my service here? Employee service class auto-wire with DAO. Then it is usually calling DAO methods and saving your data. And this service need to be called by your controller now. We have actual controller here. Now to call that service, what all you need to do? At the rate auto-wire your service, and call service dot create employee. Create employee needs a DTO object, right? Create a DTO object. Employee DTO dot builder dot add all these parameters. Name dot email dot address dot phone number. What else we have? Dot qualification. Qualification not there, right? Add it. Yes, Lombok. Exactly. So go to controller. Yeah. So set your qualification also. Finally, call dot fill. So we are giving DTO object as an input. Finally, it will take it there, and what it is returning back employee DTO object. It is returning. So in this DTO object, you can expect your ID. Message, hello Mr. or Miss. Your registration is successfully registered, and your ID is get ID. And output page, you can keep any name, but let me keep it success. Success is my output page name. Let me rename it success.jsp. That's it. Now let's try this, and I will run it in debug mode so that I can show you flow how it is happening. Okay, so you all also, right, during development you can use this debug mode for more understanding how your flow is executed. Right click, debug as, debug on server, finish it. Application getting restarted, and I can see, yeah. So now enter data here. Okay, button name is still fine. I submitted my request. Internal server error. Why so? No such bean definition, no matching bean type of com.rb.ems.service. Yeah, the problem is, let me clear it. We have stereotype annotations. Controller, service, and repository. Where it is? Here. And the packages are different naming conventions we use. com.rbu.ems.dao for DAOs, service for services, but during component scan we are scanning only web package. Let's put star here. All the packages under com.rbu.ems will be scanned. Just restart in debug mode, finish it. Go back, refresh it. Guys, if you are not talking, go on mute, please. So entering some details, qualification, click. What happened to you? Go, go, go. Oracle configuration file not found. We have copied all the classes, but I missed it. And anything particularly in Spring XML file, nothing. Oracle.cfg.xml file. Just create a resources package. Yeah. So these properties are mandatory that we know to create the session factory. Okay. Now this is also ready. Let's restart it. Okay, data inserted. Actually, not in a debug mode. It executed. Hello, Mr. or Miss Ravi. You are successfully registered. Your ID is 10. Let me restart it in debug mode. As per architecture, this flow it should go. Dispatches are led, then controller, service, DA. Dispatches are led anyway. We can't put debug there, but at least try it. Didn't I started in debug mode? Okay, I started. Switch. So the now control is in registration controller. Where is it? Yeah, request came here when you submitted. So one by one, each parameter it will read name, email, address, phone, qualification. We got here. Then we are calling service method create employee by giving DTO object. We are calling builder employee DTO builder dot setting up name, email address into this object. Finally, when we call build by setting all these parameters, it will prepare an object. So that object we are sending to create employee here. So now when we try to execute it, this execution completed. Actually, I should have added a debug pointer here and here as well. So basically execution completed and it got back response back DTO with ID, and we are putting that ID here in this response and returning it back. Finally, it is giving response. Successfully registered. Okay, now we can try one more. Just a minute. Okay, it finished. Insert one more record. Okay, something. One more record. I'm inserting here. Say hello. A request came here. Next, 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 next. Schema update completed. Okay. Let me clear it. Yeah. So from here, this flow will go into service. It is calling service method. From service to it will go into DAO. So the request came here. Now here what we are doing, this DTO object to data mapping to DAO. This bean object via bean utils. So your data will be copied and using Hibernate template dot save, saving it. Finally, this statement will insert data into table. So you can see insert query generated and inserted, and it will give response primary key which is generated. Same primary key, I'm setting it back into DTO, sending it response back. So that same DTO we are getting here in the response. You can see this records got inserted or not. Table name is employee 007. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute, guys. Yeah, tell me. Um, is not persisted. USC data not saved. What get method? It is address qualification ID also generating. From where it is bringing this data? Employee 007. Oh, this looks transaction may be not committed. That is what I am assuming. So for transaction commit, transaction is not auto committed. Now we can map default transaction commit in a Hibernate configuration file. Dialect connection driver not required. Do you guys remember programmatically not required? Is there any property in Hibernate configuration file or default set auto commit to true we should set? Set auto commit Do we have this property hibernate.connection.autocommit? Hibernate properties. Autocommit. I'm not sure, but let's try. Reload. So let me restart. Submit one more request. Saying inserted successfully. Okay, this is what. But in standalone, it went success. That means during shutdown of your application, auto committing it. When we tried standalone, right, IOC is automatically used to shut down from main method. So when we shut down it, but during MVC restart also we are getting shut down. Strange behavior, right? During this example also we have never committed or applied this command. But yeah, put this one auto commit to true. So automatically it will commit after your CRUD operation. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. Get method DAO controller we have post method only. Post yes. Yeah, it will work. No, get just a minute. So if data is not available, you will not get 404. Data not available is a positive case. If a request URL itself is not available or your request mapping is bad, then 404 will be. Finding no data in database not a you know uh, negative scenario. It's a positive scenario. Sometimes you will have data, sometimes you may not have the data. Having no data also is a good scenario. I mean, if somebody deleted the data, you may not have the data. Yeah. So remaining CRUD operations you can put here. Select as he asked, right? If you want select, no much coding required here. So I want to enter simple student name only, and I want to get the data. You can do that. You can put get here. This method names are it's up to you. Request handle get method. I want to give the name. Via name I want to fetch the data. To fetch the data you need service class, find employee, only name, bus, email address, qualification form, nothing required. That's it. So if you want to give all these fields in the response, you set them into map. No, not required. You can send ID also. Kali ID also you can send. I prefer to send via object only. I'm sending data in the form of DTO only to this method. It's my wish now. I can send anything. Will it stop me to forward a object? This is my method. Yeah. No, just sending the DTO itself. Okay, this is actually find by ID, not the name, but I'm sending DTO here, and here also I'm sending DTO. From DTO here I'm getting the ID. Till here I'm bringing data into DTO only. Yeah. Actually not name, find by ID actually. Read ID and put it. ID is a number. What is the data type that we used? Long. It's a simple map object. Collection map, what it will do? It's a key. It's a key. In map, it's a key. Yeah. So sender ID, not name. Okay. Yeah, it's my mistake. Send name ID and build it. Send it. You will get the response. And this time we will put a view page, view employee, or view hyphen or underscore employee, or view em. Okay. There I will be getting DTO. I will be getting more DTO. So key message only, but the response is DTO response. We get the employee DTO here. Get your data here, ID. Go on mute. Okay. After this, you can ID name, name, address, qualification. So get, is it something like that? Syntax. Not required. But we need to send one ID as an input, right? We need a different form now. Okay, we need a different form here. I need one more form. Here in this page itself, shall I put that form? Form action, same action, student.rbu, but with a different method. Method equal to get this time. Okay, when we click enter, it need to give this object. Verify if this object exists, then print it. If not, it's okay. Or else even keeping it will create okay null pointer exception. Maybe try it. Hmm, yeah, that looks quite good. View employee page we need. How this view employee page I'll get? Uh, so for this action, I just need to do redirect action. Find employee. Need a redirect action. So one more method I need just for redirect. Click model and view redirect. Custom mapping value. Find employee. Return model and view. This time Kali view without any map object. So I think that's good. Try it. Refresh it. Yeah. So here we got a click for the find employee page. I clicked on it. Give me a page back. Okay. So I got a page. I need to enter ID here. Which all reports I have 13 and 9. Enter 1. I got the data. I, once I got here student.rbu.9. Student.rbu.9. Nested exception request process failed. Record not available for the given ID. Okay. अच्छा 13 huh? Yeah. So there is a data. Definitely it is there. Yeah. So one UI have lot of URLs, right? So you may have your web pages inside WebINF. You can't access them directly by using hyperlink. Here I can't put directly hyperlink of view map.jsp. That we should not put here. No direct URLs. So find EMP URL I have, but for that find EMP URL I need this JSP page. So for that purpose, when I click on that URL for redirect also I need to have one controller method. So when there is a request to find EMP, return him view emp.jsp page. We are telling via view resolver give view emp page. So it will return view employee page. That's it. Get by default get by default get all hyperlinks are get. Hyperlink is get by default. Hyperlinks are get. Your forms only will have that differentiation. Post to put to get to, that you will see in the forms, not for the URLs. Guys, are you all clear? So try this example. Okay. So from Monday we will start. We are going to start Spring Boot and microservices. Get ready for it. And after this, right after microservices, we will try to implement a small MVC project and microservice project. Okay. End-to-end use cases we will see there. But try to get everything right, daily wise concepts, get hands on, good hands on. Okay. So that I think by end of the sessions you will be confident enough. Yeah.